The Perfectionist, Learning to Let Go. Are you an idealist? Do you focus on every little detail and seek control when possible? If yes, you're exhibiting the signs of the perfectionist, also known as the ruler. Typical personality traits include a need to be precise, to be able to think rationally, and to motivate others. There is no doubt that this personality type makes for a natural leader, and if this rings true or familiar to you, then taking charge may be a very instinctive action. Perfectionists are at their happiest when they are in control. Planning ahead, budgeting, and keeping track of all the finances are also admirable qualities. And when a tough decision needs to be made, others look to the perfectionist for guidance. In light, this personality has many positive characteristics, particularly when they have control over a situation. In shadow, they can lose interest very quickly. It's true, this personality type can be a little blinkered. Have you ever heard yourself saying something like, "It's my way," or "the highway"? You see, this archetype truly believes that their way is the only correct way, and they have little or no patience with people whose ideas are less than compatible. As you can imagine, this can cause friction, especially to those who are a little more sensitive and who feel undervalued or suppressed. Perfectionists are typically left-brain thinkers because they have highly analytical minds with rational thoughts. They need to be the ruler, organized, and care about principles and ethics of an organization or indeed any situation. These personality types care about justice and take on moral injustices, supporting those who need it. Most people can only imagine striving for perfection, but for this archetype, they must live and breathe it, setting themselves and others very high standards. This behavior, being so meticulous, driven, and in control, as you can appreciate, does not always work well with other people. If we take Patrick as an example, you will see how power can bring its own set of problems. Patrick had always been incredibly driven. He set himself carefully defined goals and increased each milestone with precision until he had climbed to the dizzy heights of directorship. Being accustomed to making snap decisions, Patrick thought that slipping into this new and much coveted role would be fairly straightforward. It wasn't, and it wasn't long before he found that things would not always go his way. He found himself in a constant battle with those more experienced characters within the organization, and he realized that, like he, many of the other directors had their own very strong opinions, and naturally, each convinced their ideas were the best way forward. Patrick had another problem. He found himself struggling to gain the loyalty of his own management team. They made it crystal clear that they found his obsession with every detail to be at the very least frustrating. As time went on, he found it more and more difficult to communicate with them, and he knew that the time had come to do something about it, to get them on side. You see, Patrick knows firsthand that as a perfectionist, you put yourself through plenty of heartache, not to mention strife. You're never satisfied, always certain you can do better, and no one seems to see the flaws but you. He unfortunately found himself midway between the other directors, who were all vying to get their own ideas accepted, and after many frustrating meetings, going back to a team who were openly resentful of his management style. Patrick sought the advice of a coach he felt he could trust. The coach was able to help him soften his approach without too much compromise, and to develop his people skills. Because Patrick had a habit of only seeing his own point of view, the coach was able to help him see that he would be wiser to consider listening and explore all options. This would create a more harmonious and engaging team energy. Patrick realized that by micromanaging to the point of practically doing it himself did not serve him or the team. With hindsight and a lot of coaching, Patrick began to see why problems had developed. Letting go of perfectionism is not the message here. It's the leap that counts. When you're making perfect plans and controlling others, it tends to mean that you forget how to live a happy life because you're planning perfectly alone. In his own time, Patrick learned that extreme perfectionism is the enemy of creation, and behind it is fear. Knowing that allowed him to easily let go of the tight reins, and he began to see it differently. Confronting that fear allowed him the right to be not so perfect all the time, and to see it as an accomplished art, a touch of love that allowed him the right to be human. And now, with a loyal team behind him, he was able to devote more of his energy to fighting the necessary battles at directorship level, while at the same time making time to enjoy this wonderful gift we call life and sharing it with someone special.